My name is Dennis. I'm 72 years old. 3 days ago, my grandson Evans stood at the edge of my garden, the one I've poured my soul into for 40 years, and told me I should dig my own grave. He wasn't being poetic. He wasn't joking. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Grandpa, this whole place is pathetic. You're pathetic. Just disappear already." The boy I raised. The boy I sacrificed everything for. The boy I loved more than my own son. He wanted me gone. What Evans doesn't know, what nobody knows, is that this worthless garden he's been mocking, this land he's desperate to rip away from me, it holds a secret, one that could change everything. And I've been silent long enough. Because when you betray a man who has nothing left to lose, you better make damn sure you know exactly what you're taking from him. Evans didn't, and he's about to find out why that was the biggest mistake of his life. If you want to know what I'm hiding, and trust me, this is not what you think, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like button, turn on notifications, because what happens next will leave you speechless. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? Let's talk about it. Now, let me tell you how this all started. I still remember the first time Evans called me his hero. He was 7 years old, skinny kid with scraped knees and a gap-toothed smile. His father, my son Stephen, had just walked out on him and his mother Stella for the 3rd time that year. Stephen was always good at running, from responsibility, from consequences, from the people who needed him most. So I stepped in. I picked Evans up from school every day, taught him to tie his shoes, ride a bike, throw a baseball. When Stella worked double shifts at the diner just to keep the lights on, I made sure Evans had dinner, had homework help, had someone who gave a damn. This garden? We built it together. Every stone on that pathway, Evans handed to me. Every rose bush we planted side by side. When his grandmother, my late wife Margaret, passed away 10 years ago, Evans helped me scatter her ashes beneath the old oak tree in the corner. He cried in my arms that day. "I love you, Grandpa," he whispered. "I'll never leave you like Dad did." I believed him. God, I was a fool. The garden looks the same as it always has. A little wild, maybe. The roses need pruning. The tomatoes are overripe, but it's mine. Every inch of it soaked with memory, with sweat, with love. I'm on my knees, pulling weeds near Margaret's oak tree when I hear the car pull up. Expensive engine. Too smooth. Too clean. Evans. He steps out wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than my monthly pension. His shoes are so polished they reflect the afternoon sun. He's on his phone, barely glancing at me as he approaches. "Grandpa." His voice is flat, businesslike. "Evans." I don't stand up. My knees hurt too much these days. He shoves his phone into his pocket and looks around the garden like he's surveying a crime scene. His lip curls slightly. "You're still doing this?" "Doing what?" "This." He waves his hand dismissively. "Playing in the dirt like a child. Grandpa, you're 72 years old. Don't you think it's time to, I don't know, act your age?" I feel something tighten in my chest. Not sadness. Not yet. Just confusion. "This garden is my life, Evans. You know that." "Yeah, well." He crosses his arms. "That's actually what I came to talk to you about." He pulls out his phone again, swipes a few times, then turns the screen toward me. It's a document. Legal jargon I can't quite read from this distance. "What is this?" "A solution," he says. "Look, I'm going to be blunt. You can't keep living like this. This house is falling apart. The property taxes are overdue. You're barely scraping by on Social Security. It's not sustainable." I'm managing just fine. "You're not, Grandpa." His voice sharpens. "And frankly, you're being selfish." Selfish? The word hits me like a slap. "My dad left a mess when he died," Evans continues. "Debts, liens, a disaster. And as executor, it's my responsibility to clean it up. The solution is simple. We sell this place. The house, the land, all of it. You move into a senior living facility, somewhere safe, somewhere you'll be taken care of, and we use the money to settle Dad's debts and set you up comfortably." I stare at him, this stranger in a suit, this boy I raised. "This is my home, Evans. It's a liability." He sighs, rubbing his temples like I'm giving him a headache. "Grandpa, listen to me. This land is worthless. No one wants it. The neighborhood's going downhill. You're sitting on a piece of trash and you're too stubborn to let it go." Trash. He called my home, our home, trash. I look down at the dirt under my fingernails, at Margaret's oak tree, at the roses Evans and I planted 15 years ago. "Get off my property," I say quietly. "What?" I said, "Get off my property." Evans laughs, actually laughs. "Grandpa, come on, don't be dramatic." I stand up slowly, my knees screaming in protest. I look him dead in the eye. "You want me gone, Evans? You want me to disappear into the ground like I'm already dead?" His face hardens. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." He stares at me for a long moment. Then he shakes his head, pockets his phone, and turns toward his car. "Fine," he mutters. "Rot here if you want, but when you can't pay your bills next month, don't come crying to me." He drives away without looking back. I stand there in the garden, trembling, not from fear, from rage. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying Evan's words. Worthless, trash, liability. But it wasn't just the cruelty that kept me awake. It was the urgency, the way he pushed, the way he demanded I sell now. Why? If the land is so worthless, why does he care so much? At 2:47 a.m., I gave up on sleep. I got out of bed, made myself a cup of black coffee, and sat at the kitchen table staring at the walls. This house is old, creaky. The wallpaper is peeling in the corners, but it's mine. Margaret and I bought it in 1981 with every penny we had saved. We raised Stephen here. We hosted every Christmas, every birthday, every Easter egg hunt. And now Evans wants to erase it like it never mattered. I thought about Stephen, my son. Dead 4 months now from a heart attack at 53. We hadn't been close in years. He'd inherited my stubbornness, but none of my sense of responsibility. He drifted through life leaving debts and broken promises in his wake. But he was still my son. And I never got to say goodbye. I stood up, walked down the narrow hallway, and stopped in front of Stephen's old bedroom door. I haven't opened it since he moved out 30 years ago. Stella tried to clean it out after the funeral, but I told her to leave it. I wasn't ready. Now I turned the knob. The room smelled like dust and old wood. Stephen's high school baseball trophies still lined the shelf. His posters, faded rock bands from the 90s, clung to the walls with yellowed tape. I opened the closet. Boxes of junk, old textbooks, a broken turntable. Then I saw the desk. It was shoved in the corner, half buried under old clothes. I pulled it out, sat down, and started opening drawers. Pens, loose change, a pack of cigarettes from 2003. Then, in the bottom drawer, wedged beneath a stack of expired coupons, I found it. An envelope, addressed to Evans, dated 2 years ago. My heart started pounding. I opened it. "Evans, I'm writing this because you're the only one I can trust with the truth. Dad doesn't know, and he can never know. That land he's sitting on, the house, the garden, all of it, it's not worthless. Not even close. The county rezoned the area last year. Commercial development. There's a developer offering serious money for plots in that zone. Dad's property alone could sell for $800,000. Maybe more. But if he finds out, he'll never sell. He's too sentimental, too stubborn. He'll die in that house before he lets it go. When I'm gone, you have to handle this. Get him out. Sell it. Use the money to settle my debts and split the rest with your mom. Don't let him ruin this opportunity. He won't understand, but you will. Trust me on this. Dad." I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly tore the paper. Stephen knew. He knew the land was worth a fortune, and he hid it from me. He planned to have Evans sell it out from under me the moment he died. And Evans? Evans is doing exactly what his father told him to do. The coffee mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. I didn't even flinch. All I could hear was Evans' voice in my head. "This land is worthless, Grandpa. You're sitting on trash." He lied to me, looked me in the eye and lied. I sat there until the sun came up, that letter clutched in my fist. My son betrayed me. My grandson is trying to finish the job. But here's what they don't know. Here's what Stephen, rest his soul, never bothered to check. That land, the deed, it's in a living trust. One Margaret and I set up 23 years ago with our lawyer, an old friend named Harold. Stephen was listed as a beneficiary, sure, but only after my death. And I have full, uncontested control until then. Evans has no claim, no legal right, nothing. He can't force me to sell. He can't do a damn thing. But he doesn't know that. And I'm not going to tell him. Not yet. I picked up the phone and dialed Harold's number. He answered on the third ring, groggy. "Dennis? It's 6 a.m. What's wrong?" "I need your help," I said, "and I need you to keep it quiet." "What's going on?" I stared at the letter in my hand. "I'm going to teach my grandson a lesson he'll never forget." "Oh, it is on. Evans has no idea what's coming for him, and I can't wait for you to see it. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button now, smash the like, and drop a comment telling me, should Dennis forgive Evans or make him pay? Don't miss it. Turn on those notifications. You're going to want to see this." Harold came to the house that afternoon. He's 76 now, 4 years older than me, but still sharp as a tack. We've known each other since 1979 when he helped Margaret and me buy this property. He was a young attorney then, hungry and idealistic. Now he's semi-retired, but he still takes cases for old friends. I showed him Stephen's letter. He read it twice, his jaw tightening with each line. "That son of a bitch," Harold muttered, then caught himself. "Sorry, Dennis. I know he was your boy, but don't apologize." I poured him coffee. "You're not saying anything I haven't thought myself." Harold set the letter down and pulled out his tablet, tapping through screens. "Let me pull up the trust documents. Give me a second." I watched him work, my heart hammering. Part of me was terrified he'd tell me Stephen had found a loophole, that somehow Evans could force me out. But after 5 minutes, Harold looked up with a grim smile. "You're bulletproof, Dennis. The living trust is ironclad. You have sole control over this property until your death. Stephen was listed as beneficiary, but that transferred to Evans after Stephen died. However, and this is the key, Evans has zero claim while you're alive. He can't force a sale. He can't contest it. The trust explicitly states that you retain full authority to sell, lease, or donate the property as you see fit." Relief flooded through me. So he's got nothing. Legally, nothing. Morally? Harold's eyes hardened. He's trying to con his own grandfather. That's lower than dirt. I leaned back in my chair. What if I wanted to teach him a lesson? Harold raised an eyebrow. What kind of lesson? The kind where he realizes exactly what he tried to steal from me. The kind where he understands that I'm not some senile old fool he can manipulate. Harold was quiet for a moment. Then a slow smile spread across his face. What did you have in mind? Over the next hour, we hatched a plan. It was simple, elegant, and perfectly legal. First, Harold would draft fake documents, non-binding papers that looked official but meant nothing. Power of attorney transfers, property sale agreements. All of it designed to make Evans think he was winning. Second, I would play along, act confused, frail, like I was finally giving in to his pressure. Third, we'd let him dig his own grave. He'll contact developers, Harold said. He'll start negotiating, and the moment he does, we'll have him on fraud, attempting to sell property he doesn't own. I don't want to send him to jail, I said quickly. We won't. But we'll scare him straight. Harold grinned. Sometimes the threat of consequences is more effective than the consequences themselves. I thought about Evans, about the boy who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during Sunday football games, the teenager who cried when he got rejected from his first-choice college, and I told him he was destined for greatness anyway. Where did that boy go? "Let's do it," I said. Evans showed up unannounced again. This time, he brought Stella. My daughter-in-law looked tired, worn down. She's 50 now, and life hasn't been kind to her. 2 failed marriages, the second after Stephen died, working herself to the bone to keep afloat. Part of me wondered if she knew what Evans was doing, or if he'd lied to her too. "Dennis," Stella said softly, kissing my cheek. "How are you holding up?" "I'm all right, sweetheart." I smiled at her. Genuine. She's never been the problem. Evans, on the other hand, barely looked at me. He was already scanning the property like a predator sizing up prey. "Grandpa, we need to talk," he said, pulling out his tablet. "I've been doing some research, and I think I found a buyer for the house. They're offering $600,000. That's more than fair for this area." 600,000. Harold had checked the market value. Properties in this rezoned area were selling for $850,000 to $1.2 million. Evans was lowballing by at least $200,000, and pocketing the difference, no doubt. I let my shoulders sag. That's a lot of money. Evans' eyes lit up. "It is, Grandpa. You'd be set for life, and Mom and I could finally pay off Dad's debts." Stella looked uncomfortable. "Evans, maybe we should give him more time to think." "There's no time, Mom." Evans cut her off. "The buyer wants to move fast. If we don't act now, we'll lose the deal." I rubbed my temples, playing the part. "I don't know, son. This house, it's all I have left of your grandmother." "I understand." Evan's voice softened, but his eyes stayed cold. "But Grandma wouldn't want you struggling like this. She'd want you safe, comfortable." Don't you dare talk about Margaret, I thought. Don't you dare use her memory to manipulate me. But I said nothing. Instead, I nodded slowly. "All right, let me think about it. That's all I'm asking." Evan smiled, victorious. "I'll come back tomorrow with the paperwork. We can go over everything together." He left with Stella, who gave me a worried look over her shoulder. The moment they were gone, I called Harold. "He took the bait," I said. "Good." Harold's voice was ice. Now we wait for him to hang himself. Harold called me the next morning. "Dennis, you're not going to believe this." I was in the garden, pruning Margaret's roses. "What happened?" Evans contacted a developer, a guy named Rick Polino, slick operator, commercial real estate. Apparently, Evans reached out yesterday claiming he has power of attorney over your property and wants to fast-track a sale. My hand froze mid-cut. "He did what?" "He's trying to sell your land out from under you." Harold's voice was sharp. "He told Polino you're mentally unfit and that he's been appointed as your legal guardian. Complete fabrication." The pruning shears slipped from my hand and hit the ground. Evans wasn't just lying to me anymore. He was lying to developers, building a false narrative that I was incompetent, senile. He was trying to erase me. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Polino's legitimate. He won't move forward without proper documentation. But Evans is going to forge papers, Dennis. He's already asking about expedited filings and minimal oversight sales. He's planning fraud." I sat down on the garden bench, my head spinning. This wasn't just greed anymore. This was malicious. "Harold, I need to confront him." "Not yet." Harold's tone was firm. "Let him keep digging. The deeper he goes, the harder he falls. I've already alerted Polino's office, off the record, that there may be irregularities. They're watching him. One wrong move and he's finished. I don't want him arrested, Harold. I just want him to understand. He will. Trust me." Evan showed up at 6 p.m. sharp, briefcase in hand. He walked into my kitchen like he owned the place. spreading documents across the table with rehearsed efficiency. "Okay, Grandpa, I've got everything ready. This is the sale agreement. This is the power of attorney transfer, and this," he slid a paper toward me, "is the buyer's offer. $600,000, just like I said." I stared at the papers. Harold had coached me on what to look for. Everything Evans presented was designed to trick me into signing away my rights, but he'd made one critical mistake. The power of attorney form had a forged notary stamp. Harold had warned me Evans might do this, create fake documents to make the sale look legitimate. But forging legal documents? That's a felony. I picked up a pen, my hand trembling slightly. Not from fear, from restraint. "Where do I sign?" I asked, my voice weak. Evan's face broke into a grin. "Right here, Grandpa, and here, and initial here." I hesitated. "Evans, are you sure this is the right thing?" "Absolutely." He leaned in, his voice dropping to something almost tender. "You're going to be so much happier, Grandpa. No more worrying about bills, no more struggling. I'm doing this for you." "For me?" The lie was so smooth I almost believed he believed it. I set the pen down. "Evans, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you remember when you were 12 and you broke Mrs. Henderson's window with a baseball?" He blinked, confused. "What?" "Yeah, I guess." "Why?" "You came to me crying, said it was an accident, that you didn't mean to, and I believed you." "Okay. I paid for that window. Didn't tell your mother. Didn't tell Mrs. Henderson who really did it. I protected you." Evans shifted uncomfortably. "Grandpa, I don't see what this has to do with—" "And when you got caught cheating on your college entrance exam, I paid the lawyer who got you out of it. $15,000. Wiped out my savings that year." His jaw tightened. "That was different." "Was it?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Because right now, you're asking me to trust you, just like I did back then. You're asking me to believe you're doing this for me." Evan's mask slipped for just a second. I saw something flicker in his eyes. Guilt? Anger? I couldn't tell. "This is for you," he said quietly. "No, son." I stood up, my voice steady now. Strong. "This is for you, and for your father's debts, and for whatever it is you think you deserve." "Grandpa!" "Get out of my house." Evans froze. "What?" I said, "Get out. You're making a mistake." His voice turned cold. "You need this sale. You can't survive without it. Watch me." We stared at each other for a long, terrible moment. Then Evans grabbed his briefcase and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. I stood there in the silence, my heart pounding. Harold called 30 seconds later. "He just texted Polino claiming you're having an episode and asking to move forward without your signature." I closed my eyes. "Do it. Spring the trap." "Consider it done." Harold called it a come-to-Jesus meeting. I called it justice. We scheduled it for Saturday morning at Harold's office, neutral ground. I told Evans it was a final negotiation, one last chance to work things out. He jumped at it, probably thinking he'd finally worn me down. He had no idea what was waiting for him. Saturday, 10 a.m. Harold's office is downtown in one of those old brick buildings with high ceilings and wooden floors that creak when you walk. The kind of place that smells like leather and old books. Evans arrived 15 minutes early, dressed in another expensive suit. Stella came with him looking nervous. She kept glancing at me like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Harold sat behind his massive oak desk, reading glasses perched on his nose, looking every bit the seasoned attorney he is. "Thank you all for coming," Harold said, his voice professional. "Dennis asked me to mediate this discussion because he wants to make sure everyone understands the situation clearly." Evans leaned forward, eager. "I appreciate that, Mr. Brennan. I think Grandpa's finally seeing reason." "Let me stop you right there, son." Harold's tone shifted. Cold. Sharp. This isn't a negotiation. This is an intervention. Evans blinked. I'm sorry? Harold opened a folder and slid a document across the desk. This is the living trust established in 2002 by Dennis and his late wife, Margaret. Are you familiar with it? No, I don't think. Then let me explain. Harold's eyes were steel. This trust grants Dennis sole, uncontested control over the property located at 847 Oakwood Drive until his death. You, as Stephen's heir, are listed as beneficiary, but you have zero legal claim while Dennis is alive. Zero authority. Zero rights. The color drained from Evans' face. Which means, Harold continued, every document you presented to your grandfather was fraudulent. Every conversation you had with Rick Polino and Westside Developments was based on false pretenses. You claimed power of attorney you don't have. You forged notary stamps. You attempted to sell property that isn't yours. Evans' mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Stella turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. Evans, what did you do? Mom, I was trying to help. Help? I finally spoke, my voice cutting through the room like a knife. You told that developer I was mentally incompetent. You tried to paint me as a senile old man who couldn't take care of himself. Evans stood up, panicked now. Grandpa, I didn't mean it like that. Sit down. Harold's voice was a whip crack. Evans sat. Harold pulled out another document. This is a letter from your father, written 2 years ago. Dennis found it in Stephen's desk. Would you like me to read it aloud, or would you prefer to explain it yourself? Evans' hands were shaking. He told me the land was worth money, that you'd never sell it, that I needed to lie to me? I leaned forward. To manipulate me? To steal my home out from under me? It wasn't like that, Evans' voice cracked. The debts, Grandpa. Dad left so much debt. Mom and I are drowning. I thought if I could just sell the property, we could finally breathe. Stella was crying now, her face in her hands. So you decided the answer was fraud, Harold asked. Forgery? Elder abuse? Elder abuse? Evans looked like he'd been slapped. That's what the district attorney would call it, Harold said calmly. Fortunately for you, Dennis doesn't want to press charges. Evans' eyes snapped to me. You're not. I looked at him, really looked at him. This boy I'd raised, this man I no longer recognized. No, I said quietly. I'm not. Relief flooded his face. But, I continued, you're going to listen to what I have to say, and you're going to sit there until I'm finished. Evans nodded, tears streaming down his face now. I took a breath. When your father left you, I stepped in. I didn't have to. I could have let you and your mother figure it out on your own. But I didn't. Because that's what family does. We show up. We sacrifice. We love even when it's hard. My voice was shaking now, but I pushed through. I paid for your braces, your school trips, your college application fees. I sat in the hospital with you when you had appendicitis and your mother couldn't get off work. I taught you how to drive, how to change a tire, how to be a man. Evans was sobbing openly now. And you repaid me by trying to steal the one thing I have left of the woman I loved. You tried to erase me like I was nothing. I'm sorry, Evans choked out. Grandpa, I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough. My voice was hard now. But it's a start. I pulled out my own folder. Inside were 2 documents. This, I said, sliding the first one toward Stella, is a check for $50,000 to help with Stephen's debts. No strings attached. Stella's eyes went wide. Dennis, I can't. Yes, you can. You're family, and you've never asked me for anything. I slid the second document toward Evans. And this is a contract. You're going to work for me, every Saturday for the next year, in the garden, maintaining the property, learning what it means to build something instead of tearing it down. Evans stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. No pay, I continued. No shortcuts. You show up, you work, and maybe, you'll remember who you used to be. And if I refuse? Evan's voice was barely audible. Harold answered. Then we file charges, and you'll spend the next 5 to 10 years in prison for fraud and attempted elder abuse. The room went silent. Evans looked at me, his face destroyed. I'll do it, he whispered. I'll do whatever you want. Good. I stood up, my knees protesting. We start next Saturday, 8 a.m. Don't be late. I walked out of that office without looking back. Evans shows up every Saturday. The first few weeks, he was silent. Angry, he'd pull weeds with jerky, resentful movements, avoid eye contact, leave the moment his 4 hours were up. But somewhere around week 5, something shifted. He started asking questions. Why did you plant the roses here instead of by the fence? How do you keep the tomatoes from getting blight? Did Grandma really help you build this stone path? And I answered, patiently, the way I used to when he was 7. By week 8, he started arriving early, bringing coffee, staying late. Yesterday, he brought his daughter, my great-granddaughter, Emma. She's 4 years old with Margaret's eyes and Evan's stubborn chin. Papa Dennis, she squealed, running into my arms. Evans stood at the garden gate watching us. There was something different in his face, something softer. I thought, maybe she could help plant something, he said quietly. If that's okay. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time in months I saw a glimpse of the boy I used to know. I think that would be perfect, I said. We planted sunflowers. Emma's chubby hands covered in dirt, her laughter filling the garden like music. Evans worked beside us, silent but present. When Emma ran off to chase a butterfly, Evans sat down on the bench next to me. I need to tell you something, he said. I waited. I've been going to therapy, twice a week. He stared at his hands, trying to figure out how I became the person who could do what I did to you. I said nothing. My therapist says I was trying to fix Dad, that I thought if I could just solve his problems, pay his debts, clean up his messes, maybe I could finally prove I was worthy of being his son. His voice cracked. But Dad's gone, and all I did was hurt the one person who actually loved me. A tear rolled down his cheek. I don't expect you to forgive me, Grandpa. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, I see it now, what I almost destroyed. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you raised me to be. I watched Emma chase butterflies through Margaret's roses. Then I put my hand on Evan's shoulder. You're already becoming him, I said softly. Evans broke down. Right there in the garden he sobbed like he was 7 years old again. And I let him. Because that's what this place has always been. A place for growing things, for tending broken things, for second chances. The land is still mine. I've added Evan's name to the trust, but with conditions. He can't sell it, can't develop it. When I'm gone, it becomes a community garden, a place for families who need soil and sunlight and hope. Evans agreed without hesitation. Last Saturday, he brought blueprints, ideas for expanding the garden, adding a playground for Emma, a memorial bench for Margaret. If you're okay with it, he said nervously. I looked at those blueprints, at my grandson's handwriting, careful and earnest, and I smiled. Your grandmother would love it, I said, and she would have, because this garden was never about the land. It was about what we chose to grow in it. Some things can't be bought, some things can't be stolen, and some things, if you're patient enough, if you're willing to get your hands dirty, can be healed. This is my garden, and it will bloom long after I'm gone. And that's how you turn betrayal into redemption. If this story touched your heart, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Smash the like and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever given someone a second chance? Did they earn it? I read every single comment. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for believing that people can change. This is Dennis's story. But maybe it's a little bit of yours too. See you in the next one. And remember, some gardens are worth fighting for.